Hello everybody, it's me, Thrills and Gills, and we are back from hiatus. Full 6-month hiatus to be exact. I had to deal with some family and school / work issues, so I had to take a little bit of a break from our wonderful fishy world, but we are back now, and we are cooking with fire. Now, in one of my last videos, I went over a generalization and a small, quick guide of basic cichlid care, specifically of New World or South American cichlids. Today, we're going to be a little bit more specific. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorites, the sevrum. It's particularly the red spot sevrum. Sevrums are native to South America and Brazil specifically. They are a large freshwater cichlid that is considered as a semi-aggressive community fish for South American aquariums. It is a big boy coming in at about 12 to 10 inches, so you definitely need a bigger tank once they get fully grown. On the bright side, they are not as aggressive as some of their counterparts. They are pretty calm and pretty peaceful as cichlids go. Great for aquarists who want a really big, pretty fish, but they don't want to lose all of their other fish. These fish, if you want to keep fish with them, their best tank mates are usually things like geophagus, firemouths, flag cichlids, angelfish, barbs, gouramis sometimes do a little bit well, but they can be a little bit rough. Our thick-lipped gourami does fine with our two sevrums, but I would watch out for things such as 3-spot blues and gold gouramis, but most dwarf species should do just fine. Big catfish like featherfin synodontus, Plecostomus, like bristlenoses, royals, koi plecos, all that good stuff, are all great tank mates. Tank mates that should absolutely be avoided. Bigger, aggressive cichlids, so things such as pike cichlids, Oscars, jaguar cichlids, and pike cichlids should definitely be avoided. They are a very tough cichlid, but they can't take stress for very long. And they will definitely take the harsh side when it comes to stress. So keeping them calm and happy is crucial to keeping them healthy. Now, when it comes to their own species, how they socialize, they can be a little aggressive with one another. Ours do live together pretty peacefully, however, there is a hierarchy between the two. Our male is more aggressive towards the female. They tend to be like this as soon as they hit about the size of 2 to 4 inches. Usually they tend to just chase. They can fight if there is more than 2 males in a tank that is less than 30 gallons, which is why suggested tank size is 50 minimum. Personally, when I recommend keeping these fish, I say it's best to keep them in a pair, one female, one male. Now, if you're trying to figure out how to gender these fish, unlike a lot of cichlids, these are actually pretty easy to tell, at least for the bigger cichlids. I know that a lot of people, even me, have problems trying to gender things like geophagus and flag cichlids, but these guys have a very simple trick to them. Simply look at the very back of the dorsal fin. You'll notice that males have this really sharp, defined tip to them, while females have this more rounded out one. It's very curved and more like a rudder or a paddle. Meanwhile, the male is like a very pretty saltwater angelfish. That's the best way I can really describe it. And the bottom fin as well, the anal fin, also is very well known to correspond with the dorsal fin, but not as diverse as the dorsal. The male has a much bigger and much sharper one. The female has a slightly smaller one, but unless you have a trained eye for it, I would just go with the dorsal fin, because the dorsal fin is a lot easier to check for. So, are there any other morphs of sevrums that I can get besides just this orangish variant? Yes, there are red shoulders, which are a greenish with a red patch on them. There are just regular green sevrums, which are just like the basic convict-like color. There are pure gold sevrums, which are almost like a ghoulish white, but when they become adults, they turn like the same lemony gold color that most of them do. But when these guys become adults, the red spots, you could tell because they have these itty bitty little red spots that will eventually take over their whole body, and they'll have a very checkerboard slash almost tiger to jaguar-esque pattern to them. What else should you know about these cichlids? So another big thing to note about these cichlids is these cichlids, while not very difficult to deal with when it comes to tank mates, since they're pretty peaceful towards most other fish, and as long as you keep other aggressive fish away from them and fish that are too small for them to eat away from them, that's fine. The big problem is these fish are very water sensitive. Water parameters, I usually suggest being around 6.8 to 6.7. This is what these two sevrums are at. They can be at a neutral 7, but I highly recommend against that. Specifically for the fact that these fish do live in softer, more acidic water, and that's just how you'll get healthier fins and more activity out of them. They tend to become more sluggish if their water parameters aren't very good, and sometimes they become so sluggish they become dead. But other things to note about these fish are decently intelligent. They are very socially intelligent. They are able to make human identification to a degree. They can tell who feeds them normally and who doesn't normally feed them. And this may affect how you feed them, which pulls us to the next thing. What should I feed these guys? These guys aren't super hard to feed. You can just feed them flakes, but best diet, what I give them personally, is fresh bloodworms and fresh brine shrimp is usually the best for them. Meatier foods. Sometimes I even suggest wingless fruit flies too, because they'll try to peck them off the surface, which helps them burn some calories, and it's just fun for them, and it's very protein rich. So very protein rich foods, and you'll get that very nice gold sheen to them like they have right now. Now, when it comes to breeding them can either be very easy or extremely difficult. And this is where this social intelligence comes in, because these fish can be very, very picky about their partners. And if you're going to breed them, usually the only way you're going to properly get them to breed is you have to grow them up together as a pair. Usually, now it is possible to breed two separate adults. However, this is not easy to do, and it often leads to a result of either aggression between the two or just failure in general. But if they have been grown together, like these two are, you have a good chance by the time they're about 1 to 2 years old, they might be able to breed. These fish can live up to 10 years, but usually their limit is 5. As you can see, they are very energetic fish. They are very, very beautiful in my opinion. I love that gold, almost cheddar color in the right light. So, what's my opinion on this fish? Should you get it? Should you not? I'd say it's a pretty good fish if you're willing to get the tank space and the water parameters right. Besides that, this is a very easy to care for fish. Just avoid aggressive opponents and small fish. And don't have too many sevrums in the tank. And make sure your water parameters are very pristine and very clean. If you haven't noticed, we do in fact have both a canister filter, but we still have an actual air stone because their water is also best oxygenated. So personally, I give this fish a 8.2 out of 10. It's a pretty good fish, however, it still can become aggressive, and while it is generally hardy, if its water conditions aren't kept to certain standards, you're going to have a worse time. That's all for today. I'll see you on the high tide.